So today we're going to talk about something not so fun, actually a little bit scary. Have you guys ever had $60 worth of bait in your cooler, $40 worth of food, another $40 worth of beer, probably $75 to fill your gas tank? You drove an hour and a half at 4 o'clock in the morning, you got all your gear set up on the lake, and the first time you went to check your traps, your electric start's not working. Or even worse, you don't have electric start and your pull cord breaks. Well, that very thing happened to me this year on the Skidoo that I had before I bought this Bearcat. Lucky for me, I was at the boat ramp and I could keep pulling out my pull cord just enough to get it to grab just a little bit. And because the snowmobile was warm, I was able to turn it over enough to get it onto the trailer. Unfortunately, to fix that recoil issue, I had to take the whole side of the snowmobile off. The good news is, luckily, I found this machine from a buddy of mine, and he wanted the Skidoo and a little bit of manual labor, and I was able to trade. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, when you do all that work to get out on the ice and you spend all that money, you can't let this ruin your trip. Sometimes you just gotta sit back and think about the situation and the little tricks that you've learned in your lifetime that might help you stay on the ice and not ruin your trip. Let's take a look at something that you can do that'll save your weekend and keep your lines in the water. So let's go ahead and pop the hood open. Next step, we're gonna open up the shroud to the belt. For me, I just gotta pop this pin and turn it up. On the Skidoo I had, and a lot of other Skidoos, you can pop the whole side open and you can expose the clutch that way. All right, so you're gonna take your rope, and on this snowmobile and most, you're gonna go toward the front of the snowmobile because that's the direction that the clutch is gonna go. So you're gonna just take your rope, feed it down and grab it. Now this is tedious, but what you have to remember is right now, your trip's ruined, your pull cord's broke, so a little bit of tedious work to keep your weekend on track isn't the worst thing in the world. Now your first wrap is the most important because you need to cross your second wrap over your tail. You want all the wraps to be as tight as you can make them. That way it grabs that clutch when you pull it. Now on the Skidoos, with the whole side that comes open, you can just wrap it around a lot easier. But on this, you got this side piece, makes it a little bit harder, but again, worth the extra work. Now this is the fourth wrap. Everything's nice and tight right there. So you don't want any slack because you want 100% of the rope given as much pressure as you can as you pull this. Now you want to make sure your key's turned on if you have to do that on your sled, and make sure you don't have the kill switch on. You don't want to have to do this 100 times. Choke if you need to, prime if you need to. Very important safety concern on this is do not wrap this tail end around to get more of a grip, or don't create a loop for you to put your hand into. If for some reason this rope catches in any of the moving parts when it starts, you don't want your arm attached to that because you're going to have a lot more problems than a broken snowmobile. So the technique is get everything out of your way, stay straight lined up with it, and you need to have a cool catchphrase.
America!
And as you can see, that starts right up.
Question.
What?
Wouldn't it just be easier to...
That's not the video was because you can't just go inside. Now you might be saying, okay, how warm was your snowmobile when you just did that for us? Well, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I let it warm up and then I drove it behind my house. I get that a lot of these videos on YouTube is gonna give you the best case scenario. So I will be honest with you. If your snowmobile is cold and you got a choke in the primer and everything, you need to be very careful not to flood it. You don't want to have to do this 100 times. On a cold snowmobile, as long as your rope is nice and tight around that clutch, it's only ever taken me 3 to 4 pulls to get it to start. When you get that thing started, that's when you need to use your knowledge of your choke, your primer, and your throttle to keep it going so it doesn't stall. Now, if it's early in your ice fishing trip and you need to go to this, basically you just need to change your strategy of the day. Most likely you're not going to use your snowmobile going to check your traps or to get your flags, but maybe just using it at the end of the day to get your gear back to the truck. This right here is not something you want to do 100 times a day. It's just to get you home safely. And if it's pretty cold out that day, you might want to just go out and do this a couple times and let your snowmobile run for 5 or 10 minutes and just keep it warmed up throughout the day. So if this happens at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're fishing till 4 or 5 at night and it's -10, you might want to go out and do it a couple times in between flags just to keep this thing warmed up. And that way you don't have to do it 100 times at the end of the day. So I hope this video helps. I didn't really think about this until my recoil broke on the Skidoo, and I know a lot of you guys that go up snowmobiling on trails and stuff, you learn a lot of these little tricks, but I also know a lot of people like me who really only use these machines to ice fish. You basically get from point A to point B and you're fishing. So some of these tricks that you learned when you used to trail ride, you might not think about it, and you might not have a rope in your tool bag or in the back of the snowmobile. I always have some rope with me. You can also use a strap on this. You might have to cut your hook off the strap, but if you do have a ratchet strap, you could use that. So, unfortunately, I'm not fishing today because I came down with the sickness, but I want to get you guys a little video, and I thought it was a good opportunity to show you guys something that could get you out of a bind and keep you fishing, because no matter how bad things go, you just got to remember, keep on fishing on.